Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon Rollins, and this is Finding Your Glow. I am a spiritual life coach, which means that I teach you how to put your spirit to work and how to use what you learn to create an extraordinary life. Before we get any further, let's take care of some business because I always forget and then I get in trouble afterwards. So I want to give you my contact information. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. You can reach me on my blog, or you can catch me on my blog, I should say, at srollinsuniverse.tumblr.com. I'm going to put all that information at the bottom of the screen so you have access to that and can reach out and contact me if you've got any questions, if you want to discuss anything that I share online or anything like that. You're welcome to reach on out and I will be happy to respond. I actually enjoy getting comments and the conversations that come from those kinds of starts. So feel free to reach out and I will definitely respond to you. Today's segment I am calling Sometimes There Is No Road. What do you do when there is no road? Before we go too far in this, because I am a spiritual life coach, we have to start someplace for this conversation to even make sense. We have to start at the place where we acknowledge first and foremost that we are not what we see in the mirror, that what we really are is a spirit being or a light being that dwells on the inside of this flesh suit. Because if any of you have had anybody pass away in your life, if you've seen anyone, a corpse or anything like that, then you see that the person is gone, but what remains is this flesh suit that doesn't go anywhere. So this cannot be who we are. Who we are is the being and the intelligence that resides on the inside of this creature. And it's important to start with that kind of conversation because if you understand that you're spirit, then you understand that you are light because light and spirit are the same thing. And if you understand that you are light, then you understand that there is a supreme light, or if you want to call it God, I call it God, a supreme light that encompasses and inhabits and encloses all light. And so when you're talking about light, you're talking about sometimes there is no road. What springs to my mind is daytime driving and nighttime driving. Daytime driving, no problem. You're cruising down the road because you can see pretty much everything that's around you. There's no real shadows jumping out at you and telephone poles jumping out at you like they do with me sometimes. But nighttime driving is a little trickier. You can't see very well. You can't navigate very well. And the only way that you can really make any real time or any real progress is that there's enough light. That's why they put headlights on the cars, so that there be enough light that you can travel at a decent rate of speed because you have more light or more illumination to see what's happening around you. So traveling down a road or traveling down a path, same thing, it springs to my mind the same analogy of driving at night in a car, that you require light in order to be able to get down this road. And so, many of us are finding themselves, I know I'm finding myself and have found myself navigating through a lot of life issues, a lot of tough life issues that have suddenly come upon you and nothing really prepared you for how to deal with them. Some of us were starting new things and have no earthly idea how to do anything that we're being required to do, but being required to do it anyway. And so the question is, well, what do you do? People like, you get stuck and you're like, how do I know what the next step is for me to take? How do I know what the next move is to take? And a lot of us, we just simply get stuck and get paralyzed in position where we don't know what to do, so we don't do anything at all, waiting for that next step to appear, Eventually the question comes, what do I do if there is no next step? What do I do if there is no next road? I've been in this kind of scenario a lot in my life. Many years ago, I started my own boutique business management firm handling celebrities and high net worth individuals on their finances and helping them keep their finances going and, moderate their corporations and basically take care of all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes so the things that can happen in front of the scenes could keep happening. And I'm a 25-year veteran of that industry. But at the time, I'd probably been in the business for about 10 years. And I decided to launch out into business with two partners of mine. And, I'll save you some of the gory details. But one thing that came up is that we had a client that after just a short period of time being with our company, decided that he was going to leave and go to another company. And, we were fresh out of the gate. We had nothing saved, no plan B in place. We were just barely starting our plan A, and all of a sudden plan A completely fell apart. And so we were stuck with the, building debt. We were stuck with trying to figure out what was supposed to happen next. And quite frankly, it was a terroristic ride. It was really a lot. It really, really was. I learned a lot in it, but it really was a lot. And something happened though on the day that we got fired and the client moved to another firm, is that all the weekend before and all that morning, I was on pins and needles waiting for the other shoe to drop. It just felt like something was just, something was about to happen. I couldn't really tell what it was going to be. I had no idea what to do next. My next step wasn't in front of me. And all of a sudden we get the fax letter that came over that said, hey, you're fired. And suddenly this amazing thing happened. This peace just fell on me like I could not believe. It was absolutely unbelievable. And what was so unbelievable about it was that it was at that very moment that I would have expected sheer panic and sheer terror to break out and just pandemonium and just, freaking out completely. But exactly the opposite thing happened to me. Total peace, total well-being, a total sense of, everything is already okay fell upon me. And I didn't know what to do with that. Later on, I found out about that peace that surpasses all understanding. But at the time, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know God. I really wasn't walking with God. I didn't have a deep personal relationship with him. I hadn't grown up in church, so I didn't really have that background, but I did have that experience all of a sudden. And what that did is it started to catapult me into a place that from that point forward, whether I knew what the next step was going to be or not, I knew to look for the peace. Because what I found out is that God is always, always, always in the peace. And if you never know what the next step is, what you should be looking for and what you can find is whether or not there is peace in the situation. I want to encourage you that rather than waiting for the next step to appear, because sometimes the next step won't appear. It's like that Indiana Jones Holy Grail movie where he's, right at the point where he's about to take this last little bridge from the place he's standing in to the place and location of the Holy Grail, which is what he was in pursuit of the whole movie anyway. And suddenly the bridge disappeared and there was nothing there, just empty space. And the oracle comes to him and tells him that he has to first make that step before the road will appear. For many of us, we're waiting for that road to appear before we make that step. But for most of us in that situation, that road won't appear until you make that step. And how do you make that step? How do you have the courage? How do you have the inner gut to make that next step? The only way that you can do it with any peace of mind at all, that won't keep you up at night and drive you crazy, believe me, I know, is that you must have it founded on a sense of peace. Peace is the same thing as light. Light is the same thing as God. It's the same person, the same identity, same thing. You're not talking about anything different. So if you're looking for light in a dark situation, I encourage you, rather than looking for light, because sometimes that's hard to find. Sometimes finding God is hard to find. But I tell you that you will always, always, always find him in the peace. Look for the peace, and that will be your next step. I hope you got a lot out of this. I hope you were really blessed. If you want to shoot me an email, you want to ask me some more questions, please do so. You can find me at srollins@findingyourglow.com. I hope you have an awesome day today. I hope you have an awesome night. Take care. God bless. But above all, get out there and find your glow.